We are back with the Premier League Gameweek 32 predictions. We got some bangers coming up in this video, so let's get straight into it. We have Man City versus Crystal Palace. This game's gonna be such a good game, so let's get started with Man City. They've been doing alright this season. They've been a little bit off though for their standards. Man City currently sitting in 6th place in the league, outside of the Champions League place as well, which isn't too good. And last game they played Manchester United and they drew 0-0. They're also without Haaland in their most important games that are coming up, so City struggled a lot in that game against Manchester United, so let's see how they do against this Crystal Palace side. Onto Crystal Palace, they have been pretty decent this season. Their form has turned up quite a bit recently. Like currently they sit in 11th place in the league. In their last game they played Brighton and they won 2-1. That was a huge win for them. Mateta back to scoring as well, and they have been a very underrated team recently. But my prediction is going to be a 2-1 win for Manchester City. Moving on to Southampton versus Aston Villa. This game should be going realistically only one way. So let's get started with Southampton. They have been doing quite horribly this season. One of the worst teams we have ever seen in the Premier League. They are currently sitting in 20th place and they are confirmed relegated already, which is pretty crazy. And they have 10 points in 31 games played. That is horrific. Last game they played Tottenham and they lost 3-1, which basically secured relegation for them. And Tyler Dibling will most likely be leaving the club this summer. Now onto Aston Villa. They have been pretty decent this season. Form has been pretty decent recently as well. They are sat in 7th place at the moment. Last game they played Forest and they won 2-1. Now Morgan Rogers getting a goal. He has been phenomenal for the club. Asensio and Rashford, they have been amazing signings in January as well. They have contributed a lot in terms of assists and goals as well. So my prediction for this game is going to be a 3-0 win for Aston Villa. Moving on to Nottingham Forest versus Everton. Now this game should be such a good one. So let's get started with Nottingham Forest. Now they've been doing very well this season. Their form has been quite alright. Last game they played Aston Villa, but they lost 2-1. Pretty surprising result, as I thought Forest had it in the bag, but defensively they're usually quite a solid team, but mainly a counter-attacking team who just sits in their mid block. So onto Everton. They've been doing decent this season so far. Form wise it's been alright for them, currently sitting in 15th place, and last game they played Arsenal and they drew 1-1, getting quite the questionable penalty, but it is what it is. You can't really change it now. But Ndiaye stepped up and obviously he put it away. Now Everton seems to be getting a lot of draws recently as well, so it kind of might keep on continuing, but we will have to see. Now my prediction is going to be a 3-1 win for Nottingham Forest. Moving on to Brighton versus Leicester. This game should be quite decent. So let's get started with Brighton. They've been doing quite alright this season, currently sat in 9th place, so they have dropped a few places. Their form as of recent has been not the best. Like last game they played Crystal Palace and they lost 2-1. Ben Heke got a red card, which kind of set them back in that game a bit and turned it around. Now Welbeck was the only goal scorer in that match as well. Onto Leicester. They've been pretty terrible this season. Form wise it's been very bad recently for them. Like currently they sit in 19th place, so it's looking like relegation very soon for them. And last game they played Newcastle and they lost 3-0. Kind of seems like the team has forgotten how to attack and defend as well, so nothing is working right now for Ruud van Nistelrooy. So I've been saying this in the past few videos, he has to change something up if it's not working. Now my prediction is going to be a 2-0 win for Brighton. Moving on to Arsenal versus Brentford. This game could be quite a tight one if I'm being honest. So let's get started with Arsenal. They've been doing pretty good this season. Form-wise, it's been pretty decent, sitting in second place, but they're quite far from the top spot because Liverpool are clear 11 points at the top. And last game, Arsenal played Everton and they drew 1-1, and I do believe Everton's penalty was a very soft one. I don't know why they gave that one, but it's kind of crazy. But a big positive is that Bukayo Saka is back from injury. He did score in that game against Everton, I believe. But on to Brentford, they have been quite decent this season. Form-wise, it's not been the best, honestly. Currently, they are sitting in 12th place in the league. Now, last game they played Chelsea and they drew 0-0. And I do think Brentford, they had the chances to win that game, especially with players like Mbeumo and Wissa missing their chances. But it was quite a surprising result for me, to be fair. They managed to hold off Chelsea, and I think they could have won that game, honestly. But my prediction for this game is going to be a 3-1 win for Arsenal. Moving on to Chelsea versus Ipswich, this game will be a very interesting one. Let's get started with Chelsea. They have been quite decent this season. Form-wise, they have not been the best. Last game they played Brentford and they drew 0-0, and in that game they sure got a lot of shots off. They just did not threaten the goalkeeper too much and didn't really get too many shots that the goalkeeper couldn't really save. So Nkunku has not really looked too impressive so far at Chelsea. Caicedo, for me, has been the standout performer for them this season. He has been phenomenal in nearly every single game. Now on to Ipswich, they have not been doing too well this season. Form-wise, it's not been the best, even though they did beat Bournemouth and their last game was against Wolves. They lost that game 2-1. Delap is back to scoring, though it just wasn't enough for them. One goal was not enough, so they really need to fight and get some points here, because if they don't get any points, it looks like they're gonna be going down with Southampton. Now my prediction is gonna be a 2-1 win for Chelsea. Moving on to Wolves versus Tottenham. Now this game should be quite a tight one in my opinion, so let's get started with Wolves. They've been doing not the best. Form-wise, it's been pretty good for them. Last game they played Ipswich and they won 2-1. Strand Larsen has been scoring quite a few goals recently as well. Cunha seems like he will be leaving this summer as well. I think he mentioned in an interview or something like that that his goal is to win titles, so he kind of has to move away for that. On to Tottenham, they have been struggling this season. Form-wise, it has been quite awful, honestly. Although their last game they won 3-1 against Southampton, but Brennan Johnson getting a brace in that match as well. It could have been a hat-trick, but Matthias Tell took the penalty off him and Matthias Tell scored. But I don't get why he didn't give Brennan Johnson the penalty for the hat-trick. But I'm honestly surprised at how Tottenham are 14th place in the table. Obviously, they had a lot of injuries, but so did Arsenal, and Arsenal are 2nd place. So it's really rough times for Tottenham supporters at the current moment. So my prediction is going to be a 2-1 win for Wolves. Moving on to Liverpool versus West Ham. This game could be quite a good one, so let's get started with Liverpool. They have not been doing very well this season. Form-wise, as of recent, it's not been too bad, although last game they played Fulham and they lost 3-2. Liverpool did not deserve the win, if we're being honest. Fulham did deserve the win. They played quite well. McAllister did score a banger of a goal. Like, it just wasn't enough though, just that goal. But I gotta say, Liverpool are still 11 points clear at the top, so it's basically secured for them that Premier League title. Now credit to Salah, he has been phenomenal this season and he's kind of carried them in terms of goals and contributions, if we're being honest. On to West Ham, they have not been the best this season, sitting in 17th place in the Premier League. Form-wise, it's been a bit rough for them as well. Last game they drew 2-2 against Bournemouth and they did put up a fight in that match, but Fulkrug is back in the team and he's scoring again. So of course the main man Bowen also chipped in with a goal in that match, but they've been playing some pretty nice and clean football recently since Graham Potter has been appointed. But my prediction is going to be a 3-1 win for Liverpool. Moving on to Newcastle versus Manchester United. Now this game's gonna be super good, so let's get started with Newcastle. They've been quite good this season, currently sitting in 5th place in a Champions League spot. Form wise, they've been doing quite well. Honestly, last game they played Leicester and they won 3-0. Murphy got a brace and Harvey Barnes scored 1 goal as well. Now this team is very underrated. They just came off of the final, beating Liverpool. I believe it was 1-0, and they won the EFL Cup. They're very good defensively, and off the counter they have pace up top. Actually, I believe that EFL Cup final ended 2-1. Now they have a game in hand, so they could push for that 3rd place spot and push Nottingham Forest off it, which is pretty crazy. This is a incredible run from Newcastle. Now on to Manchester United. It has been a rough season for them, I can't lie. Form wise, it's been on and off. Currently they're sat 13th place in the league, so it's kind of rough. The last game they played Man City in the Manchester derby, but they managed to get a draw. Garnacho, he kind of stunk it up. Overall, in terms of goal contributions, he hasn't been there attacking wise for Manchester United. Højlund still can't manage to score. It's really rough times attacking wise for Manchester United supporters, but Bruno, he's been helping them a lot, massively. He's been creating a lot of chances. I believe I saw a stat that he created 75 chances in the Premier League. I think that's the highest of any player this season, but my prediction is going to be a 2-1 win for Newcastle. Moving on to the last and final game, we have Bournemouth versus Fulham. This game seems like quite a even one in my opinion, so let's get started with Bournemouth. They've been pretty decent this season. Currently they are sitting in 10th place. They were pushing for European football at one point, but form wise it's been a little bit rough for them. Last game they played West Ham and they drew 2-2. Even Nilsson, the new signing, has been providing goals for them. I believe he scored a brace in that match, and it's crazy how much they have dropped off since like mid-season or earlier into the season, considering how they beat some of the top 6 earlier this season. Still quite an underrated team in the league though. On to Fulham, they've been doing quite well this season, currently sitting in 8th place in the league, so they could push for that 6th spot. Europa League spot would be crazy for Fulham. They've been in some on and off form though, like losing some games, winning some games, but last game they managed to beat Liverpool 3-2, which was very surprising. Iwobi has been an incredible player for them, very good at ball carrying for them. Muniz has been showing up with goals recently. I believe I saw a stat where he has 4 goals in his past 4 games as well, so he's been stepping it up towards the end of the season. And one very underrated team this season, Fulham are. We have so many underrated teams, it's pretty crazy, but my prediction is going to be a 2-2 draw between the two. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment down below all your predictions for these games, and don't forget to subscribe as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.